Hello, this is Katie Duzick with OWEB. Today we're going to be talking about how to submit a first payment request. First requests require more information than later requests. It's important to understand what is required for each grant agreement and to allow for extra time to compile the necessary materials. A current copy of your signed grant agreement can be located on the Online Grant Management System, or OGMS, under the project number. In planning ahead for submitting your first request, first check your grant agreement to determine the materials that will be required. Standard required documentation for your grant type can be found throughout the grant agreement, and conditions of agreement unique to your project that may relate to a first payment request can be found in Exhibit E. For most grants, the following materials are required. Permits. If your project requires permits, all permits for project implementation must be provided prior to the first request. This typically applies to restoration grants, but some technical assistance and monitoring grants may also have permitting needs. In special circumstances, we may be able to release funds for activities not requiring a permit. Please check with your OWEB project manager before the first request if you may have a situation where this would apply. For more information about permitting requirements, see Exhibit E of your grant agreement. Landowner Agreements. All landowner agreements must be provided to your OWEB project manager. A sample agreement can be found on our website, but a standard format is not required as long as the content meets the requirements found in the grant agreement, which are commonly listed in Exhibit F. Proof of secured match. Unless your grant agreement specifies otherwise in the conditions, OWEB projects must have 25% match of the total OWEB award secured before funds can be released. Match can be in the form of a signed letter with a stated value amount, or in the form of a signature and dollar amount listed on our match funding form. If you use this form, make sure that the secured box is checked before you have the funder sign in order for your match to be accounted for. We also accept signed funding award contracts or an email from a funding organization as long as the amount awarded is stated within the email. Land use form. Restoration projects or other types of projects that may trigger a county land use planning process require a signed land use form from the appropriate local official. Contact your local county planning department to determine the appropriate level of signing authority necessary for your project. Pre-project photos and map. Before the first payment request for most restoration grants, a set of photo points must be established and the pre-project photos provided to your OWEB project manager along with a map showing their location. Expenditure tracking sheet. Tracking sheets are required with every fund request, except for an advance. If you are requesting reimbursement with your first request, you'll need to be sure to include a tracking sheet. Many of the forms I just mentioned can be found on our website. To find the forms, go to our homepage and go to the Manage Your Grant column. Click on Forms. Scroll down to General at the bottom of the page. Here you can find the expense tracking spreadsheet, the land use information form, the match form, and the request for the release of funds form, which is required with every payment request. Keep in mind that other types of special grants can have unique requirements for a first request, so make sure that you understand the requirements of your particular grant type by thoroughly reading your grant agreement. For example, council capacity grants require a list of the board member contact information, as well as an insurance certificate. Make sure you have all the materials before preparing your first payment request, as we cannot process the request with missing information. In most cases, the required materials can be emailed in PDF form to your OWEB project manager, or you can attach them as part of your first payment request package. When you have all the required materials and you're ready to submit, download the request form from our website. For more information about filling out and submitting this form properly, please see our short video entitled How to prepare a request for release of funds. Thank you for watching our video. For more information, please contact Tara or Leilani or your OWEB project manager.